Hello and welcome to Traditional Painting the Digital Way. This is where I use digital painting apps to teach traditional painting techniques. In this video, we're going to be continuing part 2 of my Snowy Mission series. And we're going to go ahead and work some more on the old mission. And the app that we're using is Infinite Painter for Android. And here I'm going to go ahead and add the walkway that's in front of the old Spanish mission. And if you're following along traditionally, you can check out part 1 in this series where I have a list of all the materials that I use when I use acrylic paint. And here I'm using kind of a burnt umber color if you're following along with acrylics, and with a little bit of white acrylic gesso added to it. Probably use your number 6 flat brush or a round brush, something like that. We're not doing big details yet. We're just trying to block in all the color. So you want the pathway to be a little bit darker that goes in front of the mission church. It probably is you might be able to see the ground a little bit through it, and so you want it to be a little bit darker because the snow is going to be recessed and down in a pathway there. So here I wanted to add a little bit of some trees in the background, and I'm adding kind of a pine tree or a pinon tree type in the background, and I'm using the Pollock brush makes really good, and Infinite Painter makes really good trees, and I like to use it. And if you're following on traditionally, a bristle brush works fairly well too, and you just splay out the bristles and tap it directly onto your canvas. And so I used a green color, probably Hooker's green, with a touch of dioxazine purple for the first color, the darker color of the trees. And you can add a little bit more purple to add the shadow, and then if you want to go ahead and add the highlight of the snow on it, go ahead and add a little bit of some dioxazine purple and some white acrylic gesso and a little bit of Hooker's green, and just try to get a lighter color there. And so then I wanted to add a little bit of purple to the snow color, so you could use dioxazine purple with a touch of ultramarine blue and some white acrylic gesso, and you want it to look like there's a light source behind the mission. And in this one it was the Christmas star, but you can also put the moon behind it if you just want to make a winter scene instead of a holiday scene. And here I'm adding more light to the snow. You want to keep the dark layer of the snow underneath here, and you want to leave pockets of dark and light for the snow, and because that will give it all the bumps and the nooks and crannies and the things like bushes and rocks and things that are underneath the snow. And then I wanted to go ahead and work on the building a little bit more and start to add like the plaster that is on the adobe, and let some of the darker color shine through. So I'm using a lighter brown, and probably, if you're following along traditionally, burnt sienna with white acrylic gesso, maybe a touch of cadmium yellow light, just something that will lighten it up a little and don't kill all the dark. Let some of that dark shine through, the dark brown shine through on the adobe building, because they're made of mud plaster, so you want to go ahead and let that texture shine through there. Here I'm working on the doors again, and the doors will be wooden. So I wanted kind of a burnt sienna color, just sort of a pine tree type of color. And so now I'm using the straight line tool and trying to get the door straight here, and just working on sort of adding a wood-like texture to it. And so I'm using kind of a darker brown and just trying to give it sort of that texture, like an old pine tree or something of that sort. And then you want to go ahead and let the snow drift up a little bit on the bottom of your church and the door, so it doesn't have to be straight across. You want it to be kind of like the snow has been blown up against the building and it's drifting up against the building. So you don't want it to be completely straight across on the bottom of the building. And as you can see in the original photograph that I got off of Pixabay, there's bushes and things around it, so the snow is going to be uneven there. And then here I decided that I didn't like where the door was. It wasn't lining up correctly with the top of the bell tower, so I moved it over. And this is a really nice little function that Infinite Painter has. And so you just can go ahead and move certain elements over. Make sure that you're on the right layer, but you can do that. And if you're doing this traditionally and you messed up, well, just kind of expand the door. Paint one side wider and then use the paint for the building and make the door smaller on the other side. You just kind of have to patch it up and fix it. So here I'm working on the bell and the bell tower. And I would suggest, if you're doing this traditionally, to sketch it out correctly first. And I'm just trying to get kind of the shape of the bell, and we're going to make sort of a silhouette look. We don't have to add a whole lot of detail to it, but we just kind of want the silhouette of the bell. And then we'll go ahead and add a little bit of some highlights in a minute to give it a three-dimensional look. And then here I'm trying to make the cross on the top. It has 3 crosses on it, 3 wooden ones. And go ahead and just use a dark brown or blackish color, just something that will show up against the background in the night sky. And I was using the tool in Infinite Painter, the straight line tool, and you can use a ruler or something if you're following along traditionally, is just a straight edge, just something that has a straight edge. And so then I wanted to go ahead and make the bell a little bit darker too, to make it show up better against the background, against those distant mountains. And then add some wooden boards around the top where the bell would be hooked onto, and so that's what I'm trying to do there. And also adding some wooden boards around the doorway as well. And so I wanted kind of a darker brown look. And then I wanted a little bit of a window in this one, just to give it some interest. So I was looking at some of the old mission plans that I found on Wikimedia Commons and trying to see what shapes that they had in the old missions. And I kind of like the rounded shape of the windows. So I decided to do a rounded shape rather than just a plain little square shape. And then I was using the curved tool in Infinite Painter to get a better shape on the window, a little bit rounder. And you can use a dark brown for this, or dark purple. And I would suggest, if you're following along traditionally, sketch it out and get it correct with chalk first before you try to add the paint. Here I'm doing it digitally so I can erase it quickly, but if you're doing it traditionally, you won't be able to erase it so well. So do that first. Sketch it out, get it right first. And so that's what I'm doing. Here on the other side, I wanted 2 curved windows. And I'm using the Infinite Painter curved tool. There's probably a special name for it, but it's just to make the curves. And also I wanted the little niche on the top that sometimes is a window, and sometimes it's just to put a candle in. So I wanted that up there on top because we want to light this mission up. That's part of the reason we want it at night, is so that we can show candles and things in the windows and make it look really pretty and shining at night. And so then here I've got the dark shape of the windows. And again, this handy dandy little tool in Infinite Painter. You can go ahead and move certain elements if they're wrong. And so I really like that. And like I said, just get it right the first time if you're doing this traditionally. Try to sketch it out with chalk and make sure that it works before you add the paint. And then here I wanted to add a little bit of a door to the little room that is coming off of the mission, the priest's quarters or caretaker's house. And then I wanted to straighten out the roof a little bit there. And so this is the end of part 2 of my Snowy Mission series. And in part 3, we're going to go ahead and work more on the building and add all the snow and fix all the little tiny details that we need to get done to finish this. So thanks everybody for watching. Thank you so much for your support. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments down below. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can see how we finish this painting. And I will catch you later.